Back together again on a Sunday. Neil Katyal is former acting U.S. Solicitor General. Andrew Weissmann is the former general counsel at the FBI and a senior member of special counsel Robert Mueller's team. And he's the co-author of a new book, I don't know how he's had time to write, coming out at the end of the month called The Trump Indictments, The Historic Charging Documents with Commentary. Okay, Andrew, let me start with you. Your snap-a-doodle comment is really how all of us feel. It stuck with us. Explain what could be taking them so long at this point.
So it's worth remembering that in any normal case, this is actually not long at all. But this isn't a normal case. And the circuit did agree to expedite the briefing and oral argument. So what's surprising, I think, to many people following this is that they haven't issued their decision sort of in conformity with the speed with which they asked the parties to brief this. Remember, over the holidays, over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. And so, yes, it does take 3 judges. There are 3 judges on this panel, not 1 judge. So that requires some coordination. And the presiding judge, Judge Henderson, we don't know, but may be the holdup here in terms of issuing the decision. I should say, for those people thinking this will preclude accountability in a criminal case, what the result is that the Manhattan criminal case, which was scheduled for the end of March, may very well now be the first one. That was a case that everyone sort of understood it was going to get put off if the D.C. federal case went forward on March 4th. But the result of this sort of slowing of the D.C. federal case is that Manhattan, the first case that was indicted, may in fact be the first case to go forward at the end of March.
Which is not necessarily ideal politically. Obviously, that's not how the judicial system works. So, Neil, let me go to you, because Andrew raised a really important point here. I mean, that this is normal pacing here. As much as we're all impatient and as much as it's not aligned with the timing, give us a sense of what else could be going on behind the scenes here in your assessment. And if this is not this does not move forward soon, I mean in the coming weeks, could the federal election trial start in June, July, and still be concluded before the election?
It could. I mean, my view is that actually the normal schedule for an appeal of this magnitude with these types of public interests at stake would have been that this case would have been decided by now. So I understand, like an ordinary garden variety DC circuit appeal, it takes longer. I think an average disposition time of about 6 months. But in a case of this gravity, it should be moving more quickly. Take, for example, when the Court of Appeals for in the South reversed the Judge Cannon's decision last year to protect Donald Trump. It took them, I think, 9 days. And so, to use your phrase, Jen, at the beginning of this show, I am officially now at the freakout stage. I've resisted that for a long time, but we are now.
You don't typically freak out, so that's important.
Right. Yeah, no, I think we're now at the point, to use a different legal phrase, justice delayed is justice denied. I mean, I can't imagine a more compelling need for speed than the idea that American citizens deserve to know before the election whether a candidate for office is a felon and an insurrectionist. And it's even more galling to me because this is an easy case. There is no responsible constitutional scholar who thinks Donald Trump is right, that there's an absolute immunity, that a president can go and order Navy SEAL Team 6 to go murder his political opponent and then go and murder the senators who would try him for impeachment. That cannot possibly be right. And Judge Chutkan set a fast schedule here. And I have no idea what the Court of Appeals is doing right now, but I can tell you that I'm really worried that this delay is going to put the trial past June. It's possible that Trump will try and go to the Supreme Court after he loses on the Court of Appeals. That can take months. This is a real problem.
Judge Chutkan, I think it's important to remind people, she's just adapting to waiting for this ruling. So she's just trying to adapt that. Okay, Andrew, because you are also known for keeping all of us calm here and keeping millions of MSNBC viewers calm, where are you on the freak-out-o-meter here on your end?
Neil and I are in violent agreement on this. And to just add a little fuel to the fire, I mean, whatever judge or judges are slowing this in the DC circuit, it is akin to what Judge Cannon is doing in Florida. This is really not looking good for the federal judiciary in terms of their responsibility to the electorate, whether it's Judge Cannon, who has basically issued a pocket veto on that case and has really slow walked that for no apparent reason. And you have the same thing going on in the DC circuit. So I agree with Neil that there really is no reason for the delay. And if it's coming in a case with that, remember, the legal claim here that Donald Trump is making is absurd. It's one of those things where at the oral argument, the best argument against him was the judge getting the lawyer for Donald Trump to actually just say what his argument was because it was so preposterous. So the idea that this is going to lead to losing, the war, because even though this decision ultimately will be against Donald Trump, the delay is allowing him to essentially win the battle. And the war.
Everybody heard the freak out level here from people who don't freak out. So, Neil, in the minute we have left here, you've argued a lot of cases, to put it mildly, in front of the Supreme Court. The justices are hearing oral arguments about the 14th Amendment case later this week in Colorado. What are you going to be watching for?
Well, I think there have been phenomenal friend of the court briefs that were filed in this case. I don't think the party briefs were that good, but if you make your way through these friend of the court briefs, there is a right legal answer, Jen, and it's one offered by William Baude and Michael Paulson, who are two conservative Federalist Society lawyers, and they say Trump is disqualified. And yes, Trump has many defenses, but they all fail. Like Trump says, he's not an insurrectionist. Yeah, right. He says the president isn't an officer under the United States Constitution, but the text says otherwise, as does the original intent. He says you need a law of Congress, but that would blow a hole through the 14th Amendment and its other clauses like equal protection. He doesn't actually have good legal arguments. And so hopefully the advocates can really bring that about on Thursday and make that point clear and can speak truth to power and say, look, you Supreme Court, you've talked all about the original intent of the founders. Here, the original intent of the founders is very clear. Someone like Donald Trump has no business running for office in our constitutional democracy.